Alright, so we're going to be mixing this song from scratch. I'm going to try to do as much talking as possible during the video. I'll do my best to explain as much as possible as I go through, but when I'm mixing something from scratch, it's kind of everything's happening in the moment, so it gets a bit I get a bit deep into it. So we have a song here, just a instrumental. We have a drum kit, some kick samples, snare samples. So this is the main kit in the red, and then these purple ones are the samples. And then we have the guitars, some lead guitars, some intro stuff, some synth guitars, ambience. Okay, the bass I still have to add in. I'll add that in quick, and then we have some sub drops, and then everything is just into a template, so everything's going into a group. There's nothing much going on in the template. There's not really any plugins. This is all just reverb stuff. This is a drum bus that sort of chain that might not work. I don't have anything really particular in mind about this. I'm just going to mix for fun and see what comes out. Might end up sounding like shit, might end up sounding cool. So we have bass going into bass bus, guitars going into guitar bus, guitar synths going into guitar synths, leads going into lead buses, all the leads going to a lead final, synth bus, strings bus. I don't think I'm using that. Then all the kicks and that are going to a kick sum, kick samples going to a kick sample bus, kick room going to a kick room bus, and then kick final, which is all the kicks summed, and then snare sum, which is the main snare, and then snare samples going to a snare sample bus, snare rooms going to the snare room bus, and then a snare final, which is all the snares in once, because I might want to compress everything further together. And then cymbals, and then everything going into a drum bus, and then drum bus going into an instrumental bus down here, an instrumental bus going into a pre-master. That's for like mastering automation. And then the bass and the guitar and the synths, all these buses are going also into the instrumental bus, and then I'll have like a compressor on that bus. Don't know which one it will be for now, and then everything going into like a small little mastering chain with some subtle compression, and just a limiter with 2 dBs on modern, but that might change because these settings, transparent, punchy, dynamic, change the overall picture of the mix. They all have their own sort of unique sound, and you can do the oversampling, which to my ears also sounds different. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. So it's kind of like a blank canvas. I'm just going to mix and see where it goes. So the main kit that's being used here is a MDL drum kit from Josh Middleton. I'm just using it as a sort of skeleton kit. I might not end up using it, we'll see, but it's just a base for me to start off with. And then what I like to do is usually design the drum kit with samples, but I don't really have any samples that match the song. The aim that I have for the mix is always to get the drums to fit the song, and that's the most difficult and challenging part. The snare drum is incredibly difficult to get right and coherent in a mix. It's super difficult. It's not an easy thing. It sometimes takes me days, weeks to figure out a snare tone that I like. And the kick can also be difficult, but it comes easier once the snare sounds coherent. But the drum kit is the foundation of the mix. Without the drum kit sounding good, the mix just isn't going to sound interesting. Once you get the drum kit sounding really good, the rest of the elements come a lot easier. These DIs are particularly difficult to work with. They're very scratchy and noisy and lots of unpleasant sort of sounds in them. So I have some preset amp sounds that I might use that might work and they might not. But the idea is to get these guitars to not sort of poke through the ears and just get everything sounding coherent, like it's one thing. So the bass will be a MIDI bass, and there's a lot of people who don't like this, but if you've had enough experience in mixing and you've heard what recorded bass usually sounds like when clients send projects through, MIDI bass can save a project. And these days MIDI bass sounds better to me than most recorded basses, because it's so clean. And the MIDI basses, the VST instruments do a really good job at giving you a coherent sound. So for those of you who kind of argue about MIDI bass or have something against it, it's possible that you don't have enough experience mixing a shit ton of songs to know that real recorded bass requires a lot of understanding in dynamics, in guitar setup, in the interface that you use. Bass recording it's even more particular than guitar recording, because you're using very, very, very thick strings, and it's very difficult to get a consistent tonality from the bass guitar, especially if the bass player is not tight and isn't playing with optimal precision. So that makes a huge difference. So MIDI bass works really well if you know how to work with it. So we have the bass in here. There seems to be some stuff missing from it, but that's fine. I think we have enough for this. Let's just take a listen to it. Okay, so yeah, the idea here is to get the drums sounding right, and then I'm going to mix things like sort of parallel and clean up the bass and clean up the guitars, just so that there's not a lot of ugly frequencies getting in the way. So the first thing I'll do is pull up the bass. Just so there's not a whole lot of ugly frequencies that I don't want while I'm dialing in the drums. So I'll just take this out at 80 Hertz. Just want to get this pulled down a bit, because you can hear that low fundamental is sort of poking out. So this is just cleaning it up a little bit. That's maybe why BPM is wrong. I'm just going to loop a part. I'm just going to boost the limiter just a touch. So yeah, that makes a big difference so I just quickly clean the bass up just for a quick, just so it's not in the way of the mid-range of the snare and the kick and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is go to the bass bus and just turn this down by maybe 8. And then start bringing in the drum kit. So I have two different kicks. I have a kick 1 and a kick 2. It's two different kicks from that kit, so I'm just going to try them out. Okay, the first thing on the cymbals is I'm just going to clean up some low end here, and then just clean up some of this harshness. So I just want to go between 3 and 4K and just bring this down. And then just shape this, so I'm cutting off some of this and rolling it off so it's more pleasing and it's not poking out on this top end area. And then here I just want to then I'm just going to boost the upper mids a little bit because I still want to get that sort of room sound from the cymbals, that wash that you hear. If you sort of replicates that effect if you're standing in a room and you get that sort of cymbal wash, you know, you want that also to just bring the cymbals a little bit above the drum kit. So we can go down a bit. It's a little bit too up. You can kind of hear it popping above the kit, and if it's a little bit too above the kit, you can just go like 0.10 dBs down, listen to what that sounds like, and you'll hear it go below and up. So I'll go on 0.50. And then listen as I bring it down, it will, the cymbals will sort of drop below the kit, and you're trying to find that sort of balanced point. Now they're sort of glued and it's on one plane. It's a bit hard to explain, but so you hear how when it's switched off, how the cymbals are just consuming the whole kit. So I'll switch it on and off. So it's off at the moment. So instead of the cymbals sounding like they're sitting in front of the kit, they sort of sound more stereo out. I don't know if I'm going to use this kick, it sounds a bit flat. If you listen to this one, it's got just too much of this. It's just got too many artifacts in it. This kick's got a bit more of a nice rounded sound to it, and it's not too much here on the lower end. So I might just kill a little bit of that beta. it's just cleaning up some of that mid-range boxiness, really, just a little bit. Cleaning up that boxiness also gets the snare to just like pop out a little bit more, at least for me. And then the cymbals, what I do here is on the cymbals, they sound a bit dull, so I'm just gonna brighten them up a bit. I'm just gonna keep it on this channel, take this off, brings the mid-range forward a little bit, and then I'm going to do something like this. Just trying out different plugins and seeing what. Very quick way to get the cymbal sounding nice. So just to add a bit of aggression to the cymbals is I'm going to take this saturator, I'm going to push it, drive it all the way up, and then balance the mix knob. Okay, let's switch this on and just see what we get. Snare, just want to cut some of this out. So I'm just rolling a little bit of this high sort of presence frequencies a little bit lower, so it's not so prominent at the top yet. It's just a roll off technique. Same on the bass, just shaving a bit off the fundamental off. And I'm doing it at 58 so that it's further away from the fundamental note, so it's not an extreme. So if I had it at like, let's say 100, it's just too much. Hear how it just like pushes the snare a little bit back, so it's not so in your face, it's just sort of brings it back a bit. Then we're just going to take a transient shaper and just shape the fundamental note. So I'm just bringing down the attack of the fundamental note a bit and the low mids. And the treble, just so it's not so sampley sounding. Very small amounts. I'm just trying to get the snare to sound like hollow and whole, you know, very focused. With stick attack, I want to hear the head of the stick hitting the snare without this overwhelming low fundamental conk sound, which I think sounds terrible. I'm just going to scan with the internal sort of algorithm of this plugin to find some frequencies that are sticking out. See just now if I keep that on or off because I'm losing a bit of that snap. Okay, let's bring the guitars in. So what I'm doing with the drum kit is I just don't want to hear any harshness. I'm just cleaning things up and, you know, getting some gunk out of the initial source tones just to even things out a little bit. I'm going to go back to the drum bus. And let me get the guitars first and then we'll see. So okay, so what I'm gonna do is just pull up I'm going to pull up an existing preset I have for the guitar tone. So it's a Fortin Nameless with some modifications to the amp and the pedal settings. And then before the amp I have some DI stuff going on here, just multi-band. So I'll just quickly switch this off so you can so just controlling some I'll just copy that to the right channel. So I'll switch all of this stuff off so you can hear just the amp. Sounds cool, but very messy. So you can hear there's a lot of low, sort of low mid type stuff coming through, but also I don't want to cut this too high because I don't want to kill the punch. I just want to roll this off so that it's shaping the sort of low end of the guitar. See how forward all of that low stuff comes, and when it's on, pulls it back. So I'm just shaving this off like a little bit just to bring those notes, those high frequencies down a bit. So now the guitars sound cleaner and wider apart, not so not all those frequencies sitting in front of all the cymbals and the snare. So I'll switch it on and off in context. You hear how the drum kit gets lost and the guitars just consume everything. So on. So yeah, the guitars will end up sounding a little bit dull, but we'll sort of fix all of that as we go. Okay, let's see what we have so far. Okay, let's bring in one of the lead guitars. Let's use the DI. The same amp settings that we have here. And then I'll use the same EQ that I used over here. And then I'll just high pass this at 150. I'm just doing these little moves because I'm listening and some of these things are poking out and I just want to even out the overall spectrum. I'm just using this multi-band compressor to create an even balance in the different spectrums. I'm not too particular about where I put it. I'm just looking at the sort of imagery of it and seeing where it's popping, and you know, pushes it back a bit. Okay, so the lead guitar has a little bit too much mid-range in it. Just changing the amount just to listen like where it sounds too disconnected, and if I cut it by 2 dBs it sounds a little bit more upfront and a little bit connected. You'll listen how it, when I pull the frequency down, it goes too far back and sounds too augmented from everything else. There's the sweet spot where it clicks. So what I want to quickly do is just add a, do I have a guitar? And then I have a guitar delay already. Okay. Guitar delay, of course, guitar delay 1. And then I will, oh, it's already sent there. Okay, there's a template, so. EQ, filtering out the low and the high stuff. The repeater, and a de-esser, which is pushing the delay effect back. This is just giving me that room sound. This is vocal church verb, which I could take the lead guitar and just make it a bit more ethereal. This is just sound design, you know, however you want to hear it, you can mess around with reverbs. So I have this church verb going to the de-esser. Okay, this I don't need. And let's. So it's just giving me that extended tail, sort of 3-dimensional depth, you know, to fill this the mix up. Done here is just engage this, which has 4 dBs of 7K on this FGA sort of EQ, just to bring the drums a bit more forward and give them some brightness. Transient designer, where I'm doing, I think, like -2, -2 on the low mid, -2 on the mids, -1 on the treble, just to bring some of that back a bit. knobs and listening to what sounds good and what doesn't. Just using my ears, and if it sounds good, I stick with it. If not, it's just essentially sound design, just using different plugins and seeing what sounds good. Does it affect the kit in a way that's pleasant or that's not? So this is pushing the sound forward in a very balanced way. It's not overly exaggerating the upper mids or overly exaggerating the low mids, which is good. And then you can tweak these settings just to cut off some stuff that you may be hearing in the top end, or dull the brightness a bit. The fundamental note of this snare really pops out. It's very difficult to get it under control in a good way, so I'm going to do this sort of system where I'm just balancing everything a bit. This is, this is just messing around and from experience, using these tools a lot and knowing, okay, the transient designer will do this. I know that this FGA plugin will do this, and the JST Heat was a in the moment experiment. Just adding some sort of forward momentum to the kit and giving it a little bit more of a realistic sound and saturation, and just using the ears to listen to what sounds good. And then what we're going to do now is we have a drum verb here into the full wet, into just the default mode, and we're going to start blending reverbs into the drum. We have the same thing, de-esser, pushing the effect back so it's not too up front, and then we just have the fundamental note being tempered down a bit. So I'm going to take the entire kit and send it to this. instrumental bus, and let's bring up different compressors, and we'll see which one. Use this one, and then maybe we pull up, we can pull up shit, where am I? Dynamics, and we can pull up, oh, where is it, up. I think it's this one. Yeah, let's see which one gives us the sound that we want. So we'll start with this, and we'll have the attack on 3, the release on 0.1, and we'll use a 4 ratio. And then I'm doing 82, usually 89 on the high pass filter, just so that the kick is not, the low end of the kick is not overdoing this compressor. So we get that tightness and that snap from the snare now. Let's see what this one does. 0.3 releaser. Let's do 4. Let's put a bit of drive. You can also use these compressors in like in sequence, like one after the other, to color the sound of the instrumental bus. But we'll try some things out. So bring this to 89. Sort of buries the kit a little bit. This is like a stereo type of thing. What are we on here? Threshold. Let's see. Attack. 0. Okay, let's try the 0.5. Release. High pass. 89. Gray just sounds better. Let's see if we blend this in with this one a little bit, and we'll bring the threshold down just so it's doing a tiny bit of compression. For now, it's kind of making the snare sound a bit flat, but we'll see as we go. So what I'm going to do now is start adding some samples to this kit and seeing if we can get this kit to sound a little bit more punchy and powerful. So let's start with the kick and just see if we can get something. What would it be? Okay. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to delete all of this quickly and bring this kick to here, and then bring this snare. Okay, that's so what I'm looking to do with the kick is just to get more sort of low mid type of sounds to fill the guitars, to make the guitars sound more full. You can hear without the kick. That kick on its own doesn't drive the guitars forward with. But I'm going to try something else. I don't necessarily like that, so let's see. Sounds nice. Let's see what we got. So I want to try this kick by George Lever. Yeah, that one. Just want to make sure they're in phase. So I'm just listening to the low end of the kicks to see what they sound like. Okay, so that should be... let's do a snare sample. I already have some things preset here, but I don't, because it was in the template, but we'll see how it works. I just want to make sure they are. It's possible to hear. Okay, let me start with something that I know. Let's see. Cymbals are now sounding a little bit thin-ish. Just want to see if there's something I can do to make them look. Fundamental of this sample can be quite obnoxious. Just want to see what happens when I use a transient design on this. You know, I want the snare to sound a little bit lighter, you know, a little bit more snappier. Let's try to tone this. Way too much of the tone, so I just want to see if I can tame this fundamental a bit. So far it's you know, again, I want the snare to sound slightly lighter, not so heavy, but you know, I don't really have, you know, I've worked with all these samples that I have, and I need to get new samples and new kits and, you know, different things to play around with to to get a different drum sound, but this is what I have at the moment, so essentially what I'm trying to hear is more stick attack, but very focused sound, you know, very light, so the snare sounds snappy and as light as possible, but with a lot of punch. It's very difficult to get right. I'm gonna leave this for now because I think it sounds pretty decent. Now we're going to go to the bass again. I'm just going to get a tone. So when I'm doing the bass tone, I'm looking for a preset that just sounds very clean, that doesn't have a lot of harsh, funny sounds in it. So this low note is very prominent. I'm just compressing this over here, this sort of 1 to 2K area, just to control it, and then just boost some volume back up into it. This, I don't need much of this, so I'm just compressing any top end that's coming through, and then compressing the low end of the bass quite a bit. Maybe a little bit more. And then just bringing the volume back up. balances everything out. And this type of sort of balancing, compression, multi-band compression stuff, it takes quite a while to get your ears to understand what's going on here, or for your ears to really adjust to the frequency spectrum of what you're hearing. And over time you start to develop this understanding for how certain basses work and certain VSTs work, and you sort of start to discover workflows for this, and it takes years and years and years for the ears to develop. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time for these things to start happening, for the ears to start developing, and for you to start hearing frequencies that you never heard before, and understanding how to blend them into context and listening to them against the drums and against the guitars, to make everything sound like it's one thing. The idea is to make the bass sound like it belongs with the drum kit. So we're going to solo the drum kit. Drum kit is soloed. Bringing the bass forward a bit, giving it a bit of air and a bit of low mid. So this is just taming what this brought up. It brought a little bit too much up to the front, and this is just taming this sort of low area here and just calming it down a bit and taking out some of this harshness. I'm going to roll this off again so that this fundamental here is just not so potent. Bass needs a bit more life. So what I'm going to do is just do another EQ and just clean up some stuff that's maybe use the algorithm just to find these little spots that are too loud and just multi-band compress, dynamically compress. boosting a little bit of 100, which might be counterintuitive because I'm compressing all those areas, but just to give some of this analog low mid boost to the bass, because you can see it's a bit sounding flat in the low mid. And then just some saturation just to bring some of the mid-range back that we cut out. Now what I want to do is add an effects channel called Bass Distort. Just see if we can do some sound design to get the bass just a little bit more edgy, but I want to use it in parallel. So we will have Bass Distort, and we'll just maybe bring up Satin and see what we can do to just distort the shit out of it. Do quickly is I'm just going to split the bass because I don't really like the way this is sounding, so I'm going to switch this off for now, and then I'm going to duplicate this and say bass low and bass high. And then so what I'm going to do on the EQ here is just start a new EQ and just bring this down to about 250 and this to about 60. So let's say 69. And then on this side the same, except on this side I'm going to bring this to about 500. So I'm just cutting out all of this stuff here. bring some of the pick attack and the body back to the bass. Bass still sounds a bit buried. Let's just try something. I don't really know what that's doing. Sometimes takes a lot of processing to get this right. Just doesn't sound right. So yeah, MIDI bass can, you know, if you don't really have a sort of template for it, it can sound not so nice. Let me see if I have a template for it that I've done already. Let's see. shit. So yeah, these are the kind of walls that I sometimes hit where I have to figure out how to get this bass tone to shape with the guitars and not work against them. So I'm going to switch this parallax off, and actually going to switch this bass distortion off, and then we're just going to go into the sort of amp settings of the bass and see if we can, maybe we can leave the, so we'll work on the low first. Nice, we can sort of widen the sort of low and mids. I want to keep the low of the bass clean. Just listening to what sounds good. why I have the low and the high, and I'm just going to tweak them both at the same time. I hope you guys can see this on the screen. So we have the low and the high. Compressor on the high. So I'm not doing it in context with the guitars because I'm just trying to isolate a certain sound for now. Let's try something else. sit too long on this, otherwise this video will be quite long, but I think I'll revisit this bass because it's going to take me some doing. I will probably end up doing this video in parts because it's going to be too long, so I might release it into 3 different videos. But yeah, we'll just continue and see how it goes. We're just going to go to the rhythm guitars and just see what we can do to make them sound a little bit more in the mix, a little bit more consistent and coherent. So here I'm just cleaning up some of this low mid stuff that's too much in the front, and some of this this low 113 low mid area which is popping out too much, and just cleaning up these sort of frequencies that are out of balance. just trying to get rid of this sort of honky type of sound, and then use other techniques to bring some aggression and low mids back into it. But it needs some cleaning, because it still sounds a bit papery and boxy. Like I said, these guitars are, these DIs are very difficult to work with. They are not very forgiving. So what I'm going to do is compress these, just see what happens if we use something like, let's see if there's a preset here. No, let's try to just get them in the right space. So let's add a bit of R bass for a little bit of harmonics in the low mids, around 100. Send this, okay, it's already sent to the guitar Gojira. This is a trick I learned from watching Buster Oderholm, where he takes this Gojira amp, and then he activates the Fatso pedal, switches off the distortion pedals and the amp, and I think he switches the cab on. I'm not entirely sure, but I switch it on, and then he I think his settings might be a bit different, but essentially you're cutting out all of this high end and mid range, and you're just sort of sculpting the low mids. And I think I pulled the 250 down a bit, and then I have the cabinet on, so it gives this to give that sort of low earthquake sound to the guitars, to blend it in parallel. Just add our bass to the master bus, pull it all the way down, frequency to 85, so that there's more sort of harmonics inside of the bass. Even with this pull down, you don't have to put it up to hear a difference. What I'm going to do now is add two effects, bass verb. I'll just duplicate this, and the second one is called guitar verb. So we're just going to bring some smoothness to the guitar and a little bit of three-dimensional depth. So what I want to do is use we'll just take this for the EQ onto the bass verb, and we'll just find the stock reverb, and then we'll do the same onto the guitar. Now the reason I want to send the bass here is to add thickness to the bass and give it more of a stereo feel, to make the mix feel a little bit wider in the bass region. So bass verb, and then we get, okay, my internet is off, fuck. Okay, it's gonna take a sec. So on the master bus, I just want to use an EQ just to tighten up some of the stuff here. off a bit. See if I can get another kick sample just to see as I'm doing tweaks and changes, what ends up happening is, adding certain things to the master bus can make the kick sound different in very subtle ways, and so I want to try and compensate for that. So we'll use something like, where is it? Let's just try something like this. Still sound a bit boxy. These DIs are very, very difficult. So what I want to do is bring in these noise guitars just to bring the context in. bring these to guitar lead 2, left, right. Just brightness. Just trying to balance them in to the mix. Bring in some other elements like the ambient effects and see how we can fill this up. So I just want to put the tape machine before the multi-band compressor because the tape machine pushes the mids forward quite a bit. guitars like harmonizing together different riffs but sort of blending in, and we'll do the same processing to them. Now we're going to do the bass to the bass verb, just to add a bit of width. And then we'll go to the guitar verb. So we have the bass verb, and then we have the guitar verb. Just going to do some slight dynamic control. Just to smooth out some of that mid-range, the low mid, the top, just so it's a bit more even. And then we'll do a saturation before that, just to see what that sounds like. Very low. JST heat. Master bus and see if I can tweak some stuff here. Let's bring this in, and we are going to attenuate this 10K area. Also, the more you add these analog plugins, the more it's going to give a distinct sound to the overall mix. So the more you add these up, the more saturation and sort of analog emulation you're adding to the mix, and these all add up at the end of the day. So yeah, so I think we'll leave it there for now. My ears are getting fatigued, so I'm going to leave it here. So yeah, this is just, I mean, it's not finished. It still has a bit of a way to go to sort of blend everything in. But I'll take a break and then come back to it and start finishing it up. So this is just kind of the sound design approach that I take to mixing, which is you know, just using my ears and figuring out what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. And obviously this comes with experience. I'm still also learning and, you know, refining my skill as I go. These multi-tracks are particularly quite difficult to work with, and especially the guitar DIs, and when the guitar DIs are somewhat problematic for my personal subjective experience, then I struggle to sort of get the mix that I really want to hear. But it's all about finding ways to manipulate the tone so that it sounds a certain way, and you can do that with EQ and compression and saturation. But like I said in the beginning, it takes a long time to develop the ears to get to understand how this works and to hear certain things a certain way. And it's also, you know, whoever watches this video might watch the video and maybe glean something from it, but this isn't something that you can necessarily copy, but there's techniques you can try out in your own process. Maybe you like a technique that I used here, and then you take that into your own workflow, and that technique does something to your sound that's nice, you know. So I've collected techniques over the years that I like, and then I use them in certain ways, maybe tweak them to how I want them and make them sort of my own. And then that's how you start building a sort of tool arsenal to get a mix to sound a certain way. So it's you copying, like for example what I used to do is try and copy people's drum sound. So I'd hear like a drum sound or nail the mix that I really liked, and then I want to copy it, and then I'd go and learn how to do that drum sound, and then I realized that drum sound that mixing engineer created was his own artistic painting, so to speak. So it's like a painter going to copy someone else's painting. It's just not, doesn't work. You need to find the sound that works for you, the sound that you want to hear. You need to define your own mixing sound and then build on that and refine it. Like if you listen to Zach Savini's mixes from like, I don't know, 3 years ago, and particularly his drum sound, you can hear how he's refined it, to the point where his snare sounds so thin and snappy, and whereas before it was a little bit more low fundamental, had a more of a knock to it, and now it's very light and crisp, and his mixes are next level, and he's dominating the industry. Every time I hear a major band put a release out, you can hear Zach Savini has mixed it, and he's mixing nearly all the major bands, and he's sort of capturing the industry, and he's extremely skilled. Whether you like his sound or not, it's as pro as it gets with that guy. And what I learned from him listening to the podcast is that becoming obsessed with it in a healthy way is the way that I do it. I have balance. There are times where I go overboard, but for me it's about finding the balance of learning and then knowing when to step away from it. Sometimes I'll step away from mixing for like a week or 2 weeks just to reset my ears and sort of reset everything, because I can end up going down a rabbit hole which sort of leads me to this frustration, and then when I feel that frustration and that sort of perfectionism is driving me towards an extreme where I start to make too many mistakes because I'm so desperate to get the sound that I want. And so what I've learned is that, as I said, I'm still on a journey with mixing and figuring it all out, but it's a constant state of evolution in this game. But what I have learned is that when something is not working, just step away, take a break, reset your ears, reset your mind, your internal state, and then come back to it, and then try to figure the formula out, because there's a formula for every mix, and you can't really always use, you can in a lot of cases in metal, but sometimes you need a different drum sound for a different style of song, or so knowing how to take a break and reset and come back and figure out the formula for a specific song or for a specific set of DIs that are problematic, or a bass tone, and then recalibrating and then coming back at it is the approach that I take to become a better mixer, to evolve, and to just have fun with it. And that's the most important part, is to have fun with it, not get frustrated that you listen to someone like Zach Savini and then you want to stop mixing because his mixes sound so good. But the objective overview is that he has put countless hours and years and years and years of work into his mixes, and that's why they sound like they do. Eventually, as you get better at this, there will come a time where the mixes start to sound really good. So it's a learning it's a huge learning curve when it comes to mixing. It doesn't come easily. It's an exceptionally difficult art form to nail, especially the drums. Shaping drums are very difficult, like you can see in this mix here. They're not ideal. I'm not like blown away by the drum sound or the overall sound so far, but it's at a good standpoint, and I can always go back and change things and tweak it, which I will do in the next video. So yeah, thanks to who's ever watching, and see you in the next one.